The question I get asked most often about this project is, where did I find my subjects? The most common way, as this one was, we grab the flight, you go to a town, like Knoxville, Tennessee, for example, and you get a rent-a-car, and we get a map, and we just start driving. And you just cruise around, and we go through that neighborhood, and we find somebody that's interesting, or we'll run into a mailman, or a cop, or auto mechanic, and just strike up a conversation. I'll show them some samples of what I'm doing, and next thing you know, we're going to meet Norm, who used to own the hardware store in town and knows everybody. So we'll go see Norm, and Norm will be interesting, but Norm will be like, he'll say, yeah, I know everybody in this town, and so we'll be talking with Norm, and then his doorbell will ring, and some guy who just backed up into his mailbox and knocked it over will be like, hey, Norm, I just knocked over your mailbox. And that guy will end up being the guy we end up photographing. All these serendipitous things would happen on almost every trip. It was almost laughable, because we'd be like, all right, we're going here, but something's going to happen. We're going to end up taking this tangent. And it was just like we're just waiting for it to happen sometimes. And that's what happened on so many trips, where we'd be looking for this, and it would lead us to that somehow. And it sometimes was magical the way it would all turn out. And that was one way of finding people, where we just kind of looked for them and found what we found. The other way is, like, if you're trying to photograph the FBI or the Ku Klux Klan or something, you can't just knock on their door and say, hey, can I take your picture? That doesn't work. So in those cases, I had to kind of prepare something in advance and schedule something and arrange that. So that was no big deal. I'm especially interested in finding people that were really, really difficult to photograph, the kind of people that have never been photographed before like this. Like members of the mafia, for example, or a 14-year-old pregnant girl, or an executioner, or a pedophile, or an escort, or an Amish man who won't let you photograph him, or a polygamist family. These are the kind of things that just made me crazy. I needed to find these people to photograph somehow, even though it was next to impossible. Those were the kind of things that just would have, I would have never stopped if I didn't get what I wanted in terms of this. Sometimes it seemed like I was looking for rare butterflies in the Amazon. That's us loading film in Kentucky somewhere. That's how we loaded film in a tent. And that's my friend Bob taking a nap, because we typically would just work like 20-hour days, sleep for 3-4 hours in a hotel, and then do it again. This portrait was one of the earlier ones that I shot, and is still one of my favorites from this collection. It's Joey Breedlove, who's an auto mechanic that I photographed in rural Alabama. It showed me what I was doing with this project, where trying to find these hidden gems that were typically overlooked. This guy, he might be your auto mechanic. You don't look twice at him. He's just fixing your car. But the truth is, he's magnificent and interesting as can be. And I wanted to present him in a way that made him look like a hero, or make him look, to honor him, basically. And when I took this picture, I realized it all came together for me. I realized what I was doing. It's not about finding these grand, great people. It's about finding perhaps ordinary people that live down the street from you and making them look great. Not doing anything special to them, but just presenting them in a way that shows how interesting and unique they are. I think it's very important to love what you photograph. The more you love what you're shooting, the more you can portray what's really magical about it. One thing I really like to capture when I'm photographing somebody, and a lot of these people have never been photographed like this before, is that awkwardness, that kind of discomfort that they feel in front of a camera. I guess we all would. And if I shoot like 30 or 50 sheets of film on somebody, it's typically those first 2 or 3 sheets that are the ones I'll end up using, because there'll be this awkwardness and this almost visceral, like, rawness to the shot that goes away after they get comfortable and they start posing a little bit, and it just kind of, it gets a little more calculated as they get more comfortable. So I really like to move, that's why we set up quickly. That's why I don't talk to them much beforehand. I'll talk to them, but maybe afterwards. I'll take the pictures first. But I like that kind of awkwardness that kind of would happen. For example, if I shoot a coal miner, the second this guy came out of the coal mine, I said, hey, can I take your photograph? And he goes, yeah, sure. So before he has a chance to put his tools down, I'll put him in front of my camera, and I'll shoot, and then we won't even, that's the only words we'll trade is that, and then afterwards I'll talk to him all he wants, but I'd rather take the pictures first and talk later. I'd rather get to know him later than before the picture. In the end, the picture is just, to me, I find it's a better way of working for getting these kind of photographs.